How's it going, everyone? Mad Spartan here, and today I'm bringing you another Contest of Champions War video. We are on War number 10 against League of Extraordinary Champions. We have fought these guys before, and if you guys can't tell, it is a very Quicksilver heavy war, and I actually am on Boss Island this war. I will be taking out the MCOC on Aspect of Evolution, and I will be on 2 of the mini islands. So, pretty big war for me. I'm never usually on Boss Island, but I am on the mini, so it's not really that much of a difference, but it's still nice to be in somewhere I'm usually not. And I was forced to bring White Mag for the Conflictor, because I was the only one who had an actual open spot on their path. So, it is a very Quicksilver heavy war. There's not really much else that he has to take. The only thing I don't have him take is the Domino and EMP, because I would never do that. First fight is a Spider Ham. So we do start the game off with a parry heavy to gain the 300 momentum as quick as possible. So he'll have the permanent slow the whole game. He is a little stingy at times with the SP1, but it's not too bad. I don't think it ever really catches up to us. I always have this PTSD from him. When he was in Gauntlet, I used to use APOC to try to gain the evade charges on him because that was how I played him. And if anyone knows that fight, it takes about 45 to 50 minutes. It's an absurd amount of time to get him down. I'd probably say it's more like 35, 40 minutes. But I was having this glitch happen where every time he would activate his SP2, the game would glitch and then boot me out, and I have to restart the fight. And that happened like 3 or 4 times. So now, whenever I face him, like whether it's a quest or war or anything like that, I only bait SP1s. I mean, you are only going to bait SP1s with him anyway, but I definitely prioritize SP1s. I would rather Dex a million times in the corner rather than let him throw his SP2. It is not fun, and it's not something I ever want to worry about again. So that is why I will never let him throw his SP2. We did get to the 25 whiplashes, which will double it over 50, so that allows us to manually burst it, and he should be done with that. He will throw an SP1 as like a last-ditch effort, and we do throw a heavy, which is a pretty big amount, and 96k burst, which is pretty good. With him down, we do have a Wong up next, which he does seem to be here a lot. I guess maybe it's because of he's got really good block penetration, and when you put all those debuffs on him, he just shreds through your block. So a lot of things that the AI does, which I don't understand. I don't know if it's on purpose or if I just have really bad luck. When Wong throws his heavy and he like attempts to gain, I don't know if he gains like about a bar of power, but he gains very close to a bar of power. But when he has the withers on him, he actually loses that same amount. So the problem is when you're trying to bait a special to not take any block damage, because I believe each debuff gives him 50% attack. So you see all those debuffs on there, which isn't even the amount that we'll end up having on him. It's a lot of attack to shred through your block, and I feel like the computer purposely throws heavies to not have a bar, so we have to at least parry once. And it's one of those things where if you get hit once, you just die. So and he just did it now, so now I'm forced to hit him. Almost a 2,500 block penetration on a parry. That reduces it. It's crazy. That's why you need someone like Chilit that just like caps it. But that's besides the point. We don't have her, so we have to do with what we have. And we got just under 25, so we weren't able to get the 50 to manually burst it. But the good news is, if we try to make these bursts at the same time, it still will be a 48 burst, which I believe, if doubled on Mystics, it ends up being a lot of damage. So we're just going to do basic lights attacks, so not to refresh it with the double medium, and still 130k burst, 125. But either way, he was done after that. So it was pretty nice. The one fight that I was really anxious about this war was probably the EMP Domino. I didn't bring Guardian this time because I was told by other Alliance members that they use iDoom. But he doesn't have as much energy resistance as Guardian. So I was like, why with the critical failure? But I guess him being shock immune, you don't need that crazy amount of energy resistance. So I guess you're taking a little bit more damage from the critical failure and taking no damage from EMP. So I guess it's a pretty good trade-off. Not to mention, I do like the idea of having some type of power control. Hence why I use him on like EMP Kingpin. Because if he ever gets stingy, I'm able to control his power at least a little bit. But someone like Domino, like it's just never safe to do anything against her. So now the next fight is a Rintra. Not really much to it. The only problem is I'm not as comfortable with that fight as I am with Sandman, because Sandman has to constantly knock you down So Rintrah basically spends the entire game on 0 charges. I don't think like he ever gets off of it. He'll never go higher than like 10 charges because you're constantly knocking him down, whether it's to gain heavy proficiencies or to actually do your big burst damage. So, and with how many hits Quicksilver does, he just mows right through his charges. I mean, we're not taking any rupture damage, but it's more for we can't throw the SP2 or else he'll get rooted. I guess it doesn't matter because he'll have the slow on him, so it's like, who cares? But like, it's just something I don't want to deal with. So I do end up throwing the SP2 here to double it because he does have 26. And he does have 52, so we're pretty much just dashing back. And he survived 1% health. It was like almost like a 300k burst. So we just throw the relic to finish him off. But it was pretty shocking that he lived through that. So now the main attraction. I know there's like 3 other fights before this, but I was so anxious because I'm telling you, there will be a war where this AI doesn't throw the SP2. I actually had a spare white mag and used it for this. It doesn't even matter. There will be a war where she has 2 bars and I have the placebo buffs. She doesn't throw the SP2 because she likes to hold it sometimes. And then the placebo buffs give her 3 bars. It's happened before. It actually happens more with other champs. Like, it's like the game's way of telling me, like, this will happen soon, but you'll never know when it's coming. So right now, kind of do like a different attack plan now. I try very hard to bait the SP1 so I have more time. But for something like this, like with the Rise to Power, that just hitting her with a precision buff gave her 2 bars. So I'm hoping to clear out this 2 bars quick. Hoping my nightmare doesn't become true and she ends up just not throwing it. So I am throwing the heavies right before she gains a bar because I don't want to potentially her like shrug off the shock or the shock not coming out or her evading or anything. So I'm trying to reduce the chances of that happening. As you can see, I did slow down my combo there to make sure I did not get hit. She is throwing these SP1s pretty nicely. Now, I'll know when I'm in a good spot when I have 2 bars held, because if at all she's stingy, I'm able to hold it. Now, the problem with that is the AI was very cooperative when it knew I had 2 bars, but once I get off of 2 bars, you'll see it ends up being a little bit more stingy. I guess because she knows I have the chance to power control, she'll end up just holding it. Now, as of right now, the fight's going very well. We've had like almost no critical failures, no evade traps or anything like that. Like, pretty clean game. And she hasn't been stingy, so we're pretty much good to go. As long as we maintain this distance, you know, we're not too far in the corner. She does seem to throw her specials when I'm like close to the corner. I guess that's just how the AI is. But sometimes she doesn't. So I had to get lucky there. I threw the SP2 hoping to end it. It did not because the critical failure. It stopped my critical power burn. So we had to just do another 5-hit combo here. And just like that, she is done. Now, I know that fight looked like I was in more control, but she let me control that fight. I promise you. It is all up to the AI with that fight. There is no way to stop it. Now, the next fight is a Kindred. Literally, there's nothing to the fight with Quicksilver. It's all about energy resistance. The only thing that it becomes a little bit tricky with, and I really wish I had the video for it because it was like one of the craziest videos. When he first came out, and Gladiator Hulk was like the answer to beating him because I love Gladiator Hulk. He's like one of my favorite champs in the game. I've used him for everything. He really is amazing. And as much people don't like him because he doesn't hit very hard, I tend to think that he actually hits pretty hard. It all depends on how you look at him. But as you see here, I do end up trying to prioritize getting the heavy because I want to throw the SP1 to gain the 400. Now, the only problem is I need to make sure that the burst, 1, doesn't kill him, and also I have a bar. Well, it won't kill him, but I need to make sure that the burst doesn't get him to the rooted stage, and I don't have a bar. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it will be very unfortunate if he happens to be unblockable while I'm rooted. So, and the problem is, once he gets Nightmare Outbreak, he constantly ticks for regen, which keeps the timer going for the unblockable. So as you can see here, I do throw the SP2 when I'm not in terminal because I don't want the things to burst. Now, I'm pretty much not going to be able to control it if it goes to 50 manually, but that's for another thing. I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm trying to like not get terminal velocity, so I will try not to do that, but there's no way to do it because I'm going to be baiting out the SP2 and everything like that. So it's going to just naturally come. So I'm trying to keep these whiplashes up because at least until I have a bar. So as you can see, now that I've gotten the bar, I am probably going to manually detonate these. And then I'm just gonna wait it out, and as soon as they burst and he dashes in, I'm gonna throw the SP1, and just like that, he is done. It was perfect execution that I was planning the whole game. I didn't want to burst it too early and then not have bar. I didn't want anything to go bad. Now this fight, not much to it. The only thing that I was nervous about is that your parry won't come out for the whole game. There's nothing you could do about it. For every debuff that you have on you, whether it's doing damage or not, you end up getting, I think mine is 25 defensive ability accuracy. So think of how many hits that Quicksilver does. Every single debuff you're getting on you reduces your ability accuracy. The good news is I do pop a gray boost for a regen because I want to prioritize healing. Now, I made a mistake here. I should have started the game off with a parry so I was able to get the heavy off, but, you know, stupid like that. So I end up having to throw the SP1 with no heavy. So I only gain 150, I believe. I think it gives you 150 and then 300 if you have the heavy thing on it. So we are gaining some of the damage back that we took while blocking, but not too much because of, you know, one of them is a poison, and if this guy Nox ends up running a Despair Mastery or anything like that, it doesn't look like he runs a high Despair Mastery, because there's times this fight that I have like a ton of debuffs and I'm still regenning. You know, I'm not saying it completely stops regen, but I'm regenning an absurd amount for someone who should have max Despair, but that's just lucky for me. You know, I run max Despair. So, but I also use a lot of Science Champs, so I guess it's a different thing. So as you can see here, I am going to be just dashing back to gain my momentum. And then I'm going to try to land this pair here. We do get it, and he is at... And I try so hard to keep the whiplashes up. They almost burst. But luckily, we do end up keeping them. And just like that, 257,000 bursts. And he is done. Now, last fight. Not much to it, but I was very afraid that it could go bad. I actually end up taking my regen boost off and popping it an indestructible, because I am deathly afraid of this fight. I don't want any part of it. It has aspect of evolution and then 100% on power gain effects, but the good news is his passive power gain is completely reversed because of the amount of withers that you put from the global and also your own with Quicksilver. But if he ends up being stingy and I get hit with an SP2, I am going to cry. So I end up just starting the game off with a heavy, so I gain all my my charges. Now, in my head, I am trying to nuke this fight as fast as possible. But I will let you guys know that I do get a little greedy. And you guys will find out what that exactly means later. We do prioritize getting the permanent slow, because I don't want to deal with when he gets his wrath and he's unstoppable and unblockable. It's not a big deal. The unblockable part's okay, but anything after that is fine. Now, as you can see, even with 6 withers, like his power is either stopped or it's going down very slowly. So once you get to the 10 that Quicksilver can have, or I think he gets to 9 or something like that, it actually ends up reversing it just enough. So I am going to be building my whiplashes here. I'm trying to bait him in so I can dex it, but I end up landing the parry like an idiot, and I lose all of my whiplashes. Literally could have built that to 25. I had 22 on there. I could have built another 3, throw the SP2 in, that probably wouldn't have been game over, but he definitely wouldn't be at 65% health. So I was a little upset about myself, because with a fight like this, I'm trying to end it as fast as possible, especially against any mystics. If any fight is uncomfortable for me, I will just burst them until they're done. Want no part of it. So I'm going to try to build to the SP2 naturally before the terminal falls off, whether I have 25 or not. You know, just to get a double amount here. You know, we can't. You know, we just got to kind of get RNG there. So we do end up throwing the SP2 at 21. Not a big deal. We just, you know, I was hoping that I would get 25 just by the basic attacks. But, you know, it doesn't always work out that way. He does have 46, though, so we're going to manually detonate it. And just like that, 118,000. And, I mean, it wasn't a bad fight. You know, I was a little upset at myself for trying to be so greedy with the charges. But overall, we did really well. We do end up losing, though. Very unfortunate. I think Don't know the exact death amounts, but it was looking really good for a while, and then it wasn't, you know. But it is War 10, so we have to make sure now that we win the next 2 games so that we are 1 win away from Masters next season. And we're already planning for next season, and the first step is winning these next 2 games. It is very important that we win these next 2. But overall, you know, having fun, having a blast. You know, I hope you guys are too. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.